I quit my job at Hell Depot, and Black Friday was the breaking point. So, for context, I'm currently a head cashier at Home Depot. I work in a higher volume store that remodeled the front end, where our registers are, a couple months ago where our central checkout is now entirely self-checkout registers, referred to as SEO. While it's SEO, it's known as assisted SEO, and they want us to be assisting as much as possible. 6 items or more, high-price items, and anything that could hide anything inside of it are a must, as well as pushing credit card applications. Now here's where there's been a huge issue, starting with the cashiers not pushing credit enough, so we fell behind on our goal. So last week, to make up for it, around halfway through the week, my supervisor told us she wanted everyone physically on a register, head cashiers included. They don't even want us checking the schedule to send breaks, or the cashiers home even though no one is allowed to get overtime. Unless there's money to handle, we aren't allowed off of a register. I bet some of you can understand how frustrating that is. It's literally a SEO. I'm having more people starting to get upset that we're constantly helping them than when we changed it to a SEO, and had a ton of people angry there aren't any normal registers in the main area of the store. 2 to 3 normal registers open total on the opposite ends of the store, and that's it. And me and the other head cashiers weren't complying the entire time about staying on a register 100% of the time because we were going to prioritize at least knowing when to send breaks and our cashiers home, even if it meant us getting into trouble. Well, today was Black Friday, and my supervisor, along with the store manager and a few other managers, were lurking around almost constant. A couple actually helped, which was appreciated, but I digress. The other day, I mentioned to my supervisor when she insisted head cashiers had to stay on a register, how we were supposed to send breaks, or how we would direct the line because most people won't walk to an open register even when SEO is empty. She told me to figure it out, and if I have to keep my head on a swivel so I can check customers out and get the line down, then so be it. So, I let them run the show. They put me on a register. I complied. I only left when I was told to cover for someone going home, or to use the bathroom. My lunch was 2 hours late. I didn't say anything until an hour and a half after the fact because I rarely get my breaks on time anyways, but my lunch is mandatory because no overtime. My lunch wasn't the only break late though. When I finally got to go on my lunch, one of my cashiers came back from the bathroom, and we both saw his 15-minute break was nearly an hour late. I apologized and let him know I hadn't been allowed to check the schedule, or I would have sent him already. I told him to go, but let him know he should double-check with our supervisor just in case, since that would mean 2 people would be leaving at once. Then, I come back from my lunch and find out one of our full-time cashiers was forgotten on one of the few normal registers and was actively building overtime. Something, if I was physically there for, would have never happened as she leaves at the same time every day. Except, I was on my lunch, 2 hours late. Then later, I'm sent to garden to cover a lunch over half an hour late. When I got back inside, another cashier calls because his 15 is over half an hour late. Almost 45 minutes. That's just some of what happened. I wasn't allowed to do my job, and therefore, my cashiers were actively being forgotten about because it wasn't important enough. Oh, and we got just as much credit card applications as we did early last week before we were forced to constantly be on registers. It's not about being on a register. It's about asking in general. Something I may not like, but I do because it's my job. Or at least it was. After seeing how me not doing my job to comply with dumb rules that makes no sense affected my cashiers today, and the fact I got a call back from another job, I put my 2 weeks in, just to seal the deal after a shitty day. But I'm happy. I'm leaving Hell Depot, and couldn't be happier. I just worry for my cashiers who are probably going to continue to suffer with these new rules and regulations, and especially if anyone above them actually complies to them 100%. TLDR was told to be a normal cashier, so I let my supervisor and managers run the show. Almost everyone's breaks were forgotten about until a minimum of 30 minutes after, and they forgot to send someone home. But hey, I'm just a cashier. Oh wait, I'm not. Super late at it. Hi, sorry. I meant to get back on here, but life got kinda crazy for a bit. There is some things I'd like to make more clear. I was a head cashier, meaning I was a part of management, even if it was just lower management. What my bosses were doing on Black Friday was my job, but they should have been able to do it without issue. They just didn't care. Regardless, some not so interesting things happened for the first 2 weeks I stayed. I did stay an extra week for some convenience for myself, but that's really the only extra context needed. My store manager didn't speak a word to me the rest of the time I worked there. Not a once. Usually he'd greet me if not anyone else, and I thought that might have been the end of the backlash until about a week and a half in. My supervisor started on another suggestion that made zero sense for the work we do, but she wouldn't know as she's rarely around. She suggested having us sign into the SEO registers and treat them like normal registers. Huge issue with that. They won't take cash if you do that. It completely soft locks the system. We learned that when one of our cashier's credentials weren't working for a single day, and well, yeah, I told her it wouldn't work and how it wouldn't work and thought that was the end of it. Apparently not. My very last week, I had two of the other head cashiers telling me how our supervisor was taking pretty much my every little action and trying to twist it, which is ironic because she knew there was a possibility of me leaving because I lived pretty far and the job was physically taxing on my body. Why I mentioned in some comments, primarily I was already wanting to leave for multiple reasons. So, she knew, and I also was mentally checked out, sure, but if I caught myself, I actively tried to do better. I hate feeling lazy. I was also open with her constantly. Black Friday was an irritating day with her, but I didn't dislike her entirely. Just annoyed with how she works since I've been in her position before, and she was actually lazy. The only thing I could comment was her customer service. But, specifically right before I was leaving, her and one of the other supervisors in her clique weren't being very professional. I won't get too into detail because I really don't want to give it energy anymore, but there was an accident. I made a small mistake. I personally apologized to the other supervisor, letting her know what happened, and she literally refused to speak to me. Very mature, I know. And everyone who heard about the situation chalked it up to being another reason both my supervisor and the other one shouldn't have been supervisors. It was kind of wild, but to be honest, I didn't let it get to me as I had literally a single shift left after it all went down. Anyways, it's been a few weeks since I left. The holidays happened. New Year's happened. I hope you all had good ones. I'm doing okay. Feeling less angry in general as I typically am a fairly passive person. This post is not the most indicative of my character, but it was fun nonetheless. I appreciated a lot of the conversations, but had to stop replying as I was spending far too much time online. And that's not usually me either. Reddit is something I typically use once in a blue moon, and I deleted most of my social media for my mental health. So this was a breath of fresh air getting to vent, but also having genuine conversations with people. So if you were one of those people, I want to thank you. Genuinely. I hope you all have good lives. And please, be kind to your customer service workers.